Hello, and welcome to a brand new day of Sorcery, Contested Realm. I am gonna have to redo my intro if I keep changing it up like this. But, for now, you can still get the dish on the latest in my life anyway, with me, Lord Rumfish. And I am just excited that I've put together my first sorcery deck. This is an Elementalist deck. Um, and I'll explain a little bit if you don't know what that is. I've never played the game before. So when I say this is my first deck, I mean it is untested. I've been collecting cards. I've even been collecting some valuable cards. But that doesn't mean the deck is necessarily going to work, even though it has good cards in it. So, Elementalist here, your avatar of wonder and awe. So she's got 1 power, 20 life. So far, all of them have had 20 life. You can tap to play or draw a site. That's like a land. Um, and the grid here is 5 wide by 4 across. So that's the total playable area of the battlefield. So you build the board as you go. And you have an additional threshold of one of each of the elements. That's earth, fire, water, and air. So normally your sites, your lands, are what give you mana and threshold. You don't spend threshold as long as you have enough threshold to cast the spell. Like here's Divine Intervention. Divine Intervention costs 1 of every type of threshold. Normally you'd have to get that from your lands. And then you also need to get 7 mana. Each site normally produces 1 mana. Elementalist, though, already gives us all the threshold we need to cast Divine Intervention, so we just need to come up with the 7 mana. The threshold is taken care of by our avatar. And that's the fun thing about Elementalist is you get to play all of the elements. Now, if you kept your requirements low, you could even play a bunch of lands that don't even make threshold. They have like neat effects that are just like colorless lands. But then you wouldn't be able to cast all the really fun cards in all the different colors that cost 2 and 3 or 4 threshold. And what's the fun in that? So I'm going to take you on a little tour today of this weird deck that I've built. This is kind of like a ramp control deck, if you want to put it into Magic terms. And I'm going to start in the least likely of places. Over at the little sideboard, which is called your collection. This is something new that got added with the most recent set, Gothic. There are cards that reference your collection, and you can draw cards or cast them from your collection. It's like a little extra sidebar of cards that you can get access to in one way or another. So I have some lands that let me cast some of the creatures that are here in this little collection. And all of these are just 3/3s for 3 that have different threshold. So Horrible Hybrids, the Ghoul, the Penitent Knight, and the Hellhounds. They're all very simple cards, and there's a land that comes in that lets you cast these as long as you have 2 threshold of the certain type. But the site also provides one of that threshold, so the Elementalist provides the other. I'll talk more about it when we get to the lands. So these cards, very simple. They're all 3/3s. I don't even need all 10 of them, but I thought maybe you needed 10 to make it a legal deck. All right, now let's look at the sites. So we want all of the elements. I can tell you right now that this deck has more fire and earth in it than it does air and water. So the lands will favor that slightly. So here we go. I'll move the Elementalist up here. So we'll have an Earth site. This one makes double threshold. So plus the Elementalist, this would let us cast spells that have 3 Earth threshold, like Tithe. We'll see that in a minute. Here's an Air site, Forsaken Crypt. So this one, if we have 2 Air threshold, we can cast a Ghoul from our collection. And so the site makes an Air threshold already. The Elementalist makes an Air threshold, so all we need is 3 mana. Once we play this land, its Genesis ability, it's like it enters the battlefield. We can cast a Ghoul. So then we get this 3/3 that didn't exist before. That's kind of like card advantage. You get this board presence, and it's not a token. If that card ends up dying, it does go to the graveyard, and I do have ways to shuffle or put things back on the bottom of my library. So it is a physical card that actually goes to the graveyard that I could get back or get exiled, banished, which is not like a token. So that's kind of neat. Okay, Forlorn Keep. This is another Earth card here. And this is the one that lets us summon the Penitent Knight. Again, we need 2 Earth threshold, but as soon as we play this land, plus the Elementalist, we can do that. So we just need 3 mana. Peculiar Port, this is the same thing except for the horrible hybrids. Active Volcano, so this is a double threshold card. I have a bunch of fire spells in the deck. So this will, with the Elementalist, let us hit all the way up to 3 fire threshold. Haystack, this is Earth threshold. The opponent's deck searches are limited to the top 3 cards. So this is a little bit of a hate piece for people who are, tutoring and searching their deck for things. I don't think it's that important, but a one-of copy I thought might randomly screw over the opponent. So I needed Earth sites anyway, so I went ahead and included one. All right, Molten Mar. This is the one where we can cast the Hellhounds out of the collection. Algae Bloom. So this is a cycle of common lands from Gothic. And when they first come down, they provide threshold of all the other types that the land isn't normally. So this Algae Bloom normally is a water site, but when it first comes down, it also provides air, earth, and fire. It still only makes 1 mana, but it helps fix your threshold for everything else. I thought these were neat, and it might help in a pinch if I'm getting a little stuck in the Elementalist deck. So I thought it would be a good include to have a few of these. Autumn Bloom. This is similar to the Algae Bloom, but it's an Earth site normally, and then when it first comes down, it provides all the other types for that 1 turn. Fields of Vixis. So this one says the site directly in front is silenced. So you can silence one of the opponent's lands. And whatever special ability it has, like Troll Bridge, that can fight things that come up to it or you have to discard a card. Or Gnome Hollows, where things with power 3 or greater can't enter it. This can come down on my side of the field and silence their land. And now my units can get across and do what they need to do. It provides air threshold. Desert Bloom, I have a couple of these. So these make the other types when they first come down. And I have a lot of fire spells in the deck, so I have 2 of these Desert Blooms. Vast Desert. So this, when it comes down, can deal 1 damage to each minion that's on top of a nearby site. That can blow up like little skeleton tokens and things. But the other thing this can do is pop a ward. So a creature with a ward says the first time it gets targeted, damaged, or would die, Instead, the ward is destroyed. And you can't stack wards. A creature can only have one ward at a time. So this desert can blow up wards on creatures it targets at a site. And between that and the fact that there's like skeleton tokens and other stuff running around, I thought this could be useful. Also, I need Fire Threshold in the deck. Twilight Bloom, the art on this is amazing. So it provides Air Threshold normally, but when it first comes down, it provides all the others. Funeral Pyre, this is another fire site. When it enters, you can banish up to 3 cards from one cemetery. There are some really powerful avatars in the game, like Archimago, who, once they get their graveyard going, they can use it to fuel additional spells, additional card draws, or get things back. So it's handy to have a little bit of graveyard hate in the deck. So this is one of those pieces for me. Bonfire, this is another fire site, and when it comes down, you can destroy all weapons and armor nearby. So adjacent are sites that are to the left, right, top, and bottom of you, like the cardinal directions. Nearby includes the diagonals. So this can destroy weapons and armor in a big swath of the field. Now, weapons and armor is a pretty narrow type of card to fight against. It is a May effect, so I don't have to use it if I don't want to blow up my own weapons and armor. But there's some kinds of avatars that like to suit themselves up to come and attack you. And I thought having a copy of Bonfire in the lands might occasionally, once in a while, come into play. Red Desert. So Fire likes to have these desert cards that deal 1 damage to each minion atop target nearby site. So this is just like the Vast Desert. Just has a different name, different art. I still need Fire Threshold, so I'm including another one here. Babbling Brook. So this is a water site. When it enters until your next turn, minions are disabled while atop nearby sites. Nearby includes the diagonals. So this stops your opponent from being able to attack with their creatures because they're disabled. Also, if they were to summon a creature with charge in that area, I'm not sure if it would be affected by the Babbling Brook in that case or not. I would need to learn a little bit more about how the game works. But it might stop them. Otherwise, it just locks down the things that were already there. It could be a useful effect. Yeah, unfortunately, it can hit your own stuff, but my deck is light on minions. It's more of a control ramp deck. It likes to go big. So I don't think it'll trip me up too much. Here's Trollbridge. It's a water site. It has 3 power. The first time a lone enemy enters here each turn, you strike it, meaning the Trollbridge hits it and it doesn't get hit back, unless they discard a card. Now, if their creature has more than 3 toughness, maybe they're okay with it, because their creature will heal up at the end of the turn. But otherwise, they have to discard a card, or the troll might just kill their creature. So this is a decent way to slow down an aggressive deck. All right, Lone Tower. These are from Alpha and Beta, and these are kind of powerful. Genesis, if this is the only lone tower you control, you gain 1 mana this turn. It's Air Threshold. That's cool. It just makes 2 mana when it first comes down. That's great. But there's more towers. Here's the Gothic Tower. Does the same thing if it's the only Gothic tower you control. You gain 1 mana this turn. Also Air Threshold. And the Dark Tower. air threshold. If this is the only dark tower you control, you gain 1 this turn. So that can help ramp us up to bigger spells sooner. And that'll be very handy in this deck. Gnome Hollows. This is an Earth site, and it says units with 3 or more power can't enter this site. That is most units. Most units that people use that are minions have 3 or more power. And for what it's worth, if the opponent's avatar had 3 or more power for some reason, like if they were a battle mage or if they've been equipped with a sword and shield, units applies not just to minions, it applies to avatars too. So that could stop an aggressive avatar from stepping through as well. So Gnome Hollows is kind of a niche land, but one that definitely can lock down an aggressive start from the opponent. Bedrock. I really like this one. So Bedrock can't be moved, destroyed, or modified. So you can't muck with it. It provides Earth Threshold, and once it's down on the field, the opponent can't blow it up, they can't move it around, they can't flood it. You know, they basically can't do anything to Bedrock. And I like that. This card, I have 2 copies of it. It's kind of a neat piece of tech if you came up against like the Realm Eater avatar, which, you know, most people don't play Realm Eater. But if I happen to come up against someone who did, I would know that I've got access to this in my atlas. And that might be a couple of sites that they just can't blow up. At which point these plus some of my artifacts can give me enough mana to cast some of my spells, and maybe the Realm Eater just can't stop me from getting into the game. So I think that's kind of cool. So 2 Bedrock. Pebbled Paths, this is an Earth site. Minions atop nearby sites lose charge. And that's just all the time forever. So it might sound a little bit niche, but charge decks are pretty much the way that you do a beatdown strategy in this game. It's the only way that aggro or beatdown kind of works. Is you get charge minions, which is like haste in Magic. But Pebbled Paths can turn them off. And one of the best charge minions, Redcap Poweries, it says if it at the end of the turn, if it didn't attack, it dies. It gets sacrificed. So they can't play a Redcap Poweries into a Pebbled Paths, or that creature just dies because it didn't attack. So pretty cool. Annual Fair. So it doesn't have any threshold on its own. It does make mana. And you can pay mana to gain 1 of any type of threshold. And you can do this multiple times. So I wanted 1 copy of this in the deck because if I was really in a pinch trying to find my threshold, I know that even if it costs me mana to do it, this can fix it. I don't want more than 1 because I want most of my lands to be threshold providing on their own. So it's just kind of an emergency land there. Wedding Hall. So people will probably be confused when I play this. It provides every threshold. So that's something that I like for Elementalist. It says it provides no mana. So even though it provides every kind of threshold, it doesn't make any mana. So I have to watch out for that. And it says if Arthur and Guinevere start your turn here, you win. I don't have Arthur and Guinevere. I'm not trying to win the game that way. I am just using 1 copy of this site to help fix my threshold. I don't want more than 1 because it doesn't make mana. So if I ever got 2 Wedding Halls, that would be a disaster. Because I'm not developing my mana even though I've got my threshold. But I still thought it was worth putting 1 copy into an Elementalist deck. Then I've got 2 copies of Wizard's Den. This is a really cool one. So when it enters Genesis, you draw a spell, and you discard a spell when this site is first attacked successfully. So initially you get to draw a spell. If your opponent's able to attack it, the first time they do, you have to discard a spell. Now, maybe in the meantime, you've already cast that spell and your hand's empty. So if your hand's empty by the time they attack this, then there's no downside. Also, if it ends up being a draw a spell, discard a spell, because they are able to attack it, that's not terrible either. You're filtering the cards in your hand and you're filling up your graveyard. You might find some use, basically, out of it, even if the opponent manages to pull that off. Now, these sites don't provide threshold. I wanted to be careful how many non-threshold sites I put in the deck, but ones that can draw a spell when they come down seems really powerful to me, so I thought they were worth it. All right, so that takes us through the sites, the Atlas it's called. Your Atlas is a minimum of 30 cards. The collection that we looked at earlier is 10 cards. And now we're going to get to the exciting bit, probably the part everyone wishes I started on, which is the spells. So your spell book is a minimum of 60 cards. And Divine Intervention, when you are first knocked to 0 or less than 0, you don't die that turn. You go to what's called Death's Door. And at that point, you're invulnerable until your next turn, at which point then the next source of damage that directly hits your avatar kills you. Normally, people can attack your sites with their minions to make you lose life, but once you're at Death's Door, they have to strike you directly to finish the game. Divine Intervention puts you back from Death's Door to 1 life, which means they're going to have to do that all over again. So you're going to, if you play Divine Intervention on Death's Door, you are going to see 2 more turns. Because the opponent on their next turn is going to have to knock you back to Death's Door. Well, I guess it only guarantees you 1 more turn. But it still seems valuable to me. Maybe it isn't. I'm new to the game. I want to find out. So that'll be our multicolor pile there. Hellfire. So this seems like a fun kind of niche sweeper. It kills everything that's under sites. So anything that's submerged in water or burrowed in the earth, all of it just dies with Hellfire. And then it deals 2 damage to every minion above, including yours. But most of my minions are not that small. So I think generally I'll probably get more benefit out of Hellfire than my opponent's going to. I don't run a lot of little minions. I don't run that many minions in general. Call of the Sea. So we do have some water sites in the deck. And this says minions adjacent to target water site, step towards it, then you submerge all minions there. And if a minion submerges and it doesn't have a special ability to survive in water, then it dies, it drowns. So adjacent means it has to be cardinal directions, like left and right, north and south of that square. I still think Call of the Sea could be a really powerful card. And some of these also get around ward, right? Call of the Sea can bring warded creatures to it without targeting them, damaging them, or necessarily killing them up until it's too late, right? Once the warded minion is submerged, the ward breaks because it tries to prevent it dying from being drowned, but then, like, state-based effects just kill it immediately again. So it's a way to kill something with ward. The Mimic. Mimic's fun. So it's 2 power, so it's like a 2/2 for 4. As you summon it, you can transform a carryable artifact into this Mimic that's under your control. Since the artifact was already in play, the Mimic effectively has charge. Um, because you're transforming that artifact into this instead of waiting around for it to be summoned. So that's neat. You get a charge minion and you get rid of one of your opponent's things that they're carrying. And that ends up being valuable because there's some really powerful artifacts in this game. Some of them are like mana rocks. You'll see some of those in this deck. One is the Ring of Morrigan. I don't own a copy of it. Um, but I anticipate I'll come up against it when I'm playing other people. So I want ways to be able to deal with the Ring of Morrigan. It's an extremely powerful card. So banishing it forever and turning it into this minion seems like fun. Castles Ablaze. This is a way to destroy an elite or unique site that the opponent has. So at the start of your turn, destroy the site and minions atop it and Castles Ablaze. And that would leave behind Rubble. Rubble is a land that no one controls. It's a land site. You can walk across it, burrow underneath it, but it doesn't make any mana or threshold and no one controls it. And you can build a new site on top of Rubble. Return to Nature. I have two of these. So this is a way to hate on opposing graveyard decks by putting the cards back on the bottom of their library. If I don't need to do that, I can put my own cards in my graveyard on the bottom of my library. This replaces itself with a spell. And if I have two of them in a long game, I could loop them, which means that I would never run out of cards in my deck. Probably the game won't end that way in Sorcery, but just in case it ever did, if I was up against some kind of a weird control matchup, it could come to pass. So mostly it's here as graveyard hate, and it replaces itself with a card. Angry Mob. So this is just an ordinary card like common. It's a 3/3 for 4, and when it enters Genesis, you kill target adjacent unique or elite minion. Being able to get down a decent sized body that also kills one of my opponent's best creatures seems like an amazing deal. Now, they won't always have a minion that's unique or elite. Sometimes they'll have an ordinary or an exceptional. So I don't want too many copies of Angry Mob, but I think having one floating around is just a good idea. Sword and Shield. So this might seem like a weird deck to have Sword and Shield in. So this is a weapon and armor. The bearer has +2 power. So if you gave this to a 1/1 minion, it would be a 3/3. If you gave it to a 0/0 frog, it would be a 2/2. The reason this is in here is kind of a techie reason. I can give this to my avatar. And you might say, well, why would you want to do that for Elementalist? Elementalist has no special benefits for marching off into combat. It's actually to fight off Ainok, or Aino? I think her name's Aino. Aino. She's this blue minion that can step across the top and bottom edges of the realm, go into stealth, hit you, and then return back to her side. And you can't defend with your creatures against her stealth attack. But if my avatar had 3 power, then when she hits me, I think I would hit her back for 3 damage, and she would die. And that would solve the situation. There are other ways I have of killing a stealth minion, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting piece of tech. I don't know if it works that way. But you can also just play this onto any of your other minions. Effectively make them a little bit bigger to win a fight that turn to kill something. So that's kind of like a removal spell, kind of like having haste. It has its uses. Here, we'll put it down here. Colorless pile. Just a rock. So this is another way to get rid of something that a unit is carrying. It must be cast into the hands of any unit already carrying an artifact to banish that artifact. So you say, oh no, that's not a Ring of Morrigan you have over there. That's just a rock. Then their Ring of Morrigan's banished and they're carrying this stupid thing. It's just a neat little techie card. I do have one spell in this deck that can tutor up an ordinary card out of the deck. So it's for every one of those little toolboxy cards, I have one card that can tutor it up. So it's almost like there's two copies of them floating around in terms of what I have access to. All right, Undertaker Engine. So this is a 4/4 for 7. No thresholds, colorless, which is paying a little bit too much for its size, but it says at the end of your turn, you may burrow and unburrow any combination of artifacts and minions at this site. So if an enemy minion comes over onto my turf and I summon the Undertaker Engine, at the end of the turn I can burrow anything that's on that site with it. It doesn't target, so it gets around ward. And if it doesn't have the ability to survive with burrowing, then it dies once it goes under the earth. So this is kind of neat. Also, if my opponent doesn't kill it, I could move it over onto the opponent's site where they've got creatures, and then it could do the same thing at the end of my turn. So I kind of like it. It's expensive, but it's another way to get rid of my opponent's stuff and leave a body behind. Chains of Prometheus. So I've got 2 copies of this. It says, whenever a player draws a card, that player taps their strongest untapped minion. Now this is a double-edged sword. It's going to affect me as well. But I have a couple of thoughts on that. One, I have artifact removal in the deck, so if I reach the point where I'm ahead of the opponent in the game, or I don't think the Chains of Prometheus is helping me, I could blow it up. I have other things in here I might want to blow up as well, so I'll play them on the same site probably. But the other neat thing about Chains of Prometheus, it can deal with some big problematic creatures that are really resilient and normally are nigh impossible to kill. Like there's a new one called like the Doom of Dilmun or something, where it doesn't die if it's burrowed, it doesn't die in the void, it doesn't die underwater, and it can't be banished, it can't be destroyed, it can't be modified. But you know what it can be? Tapped. It can be tapped. Play your Doom of Dilmun. You're just going to tap it to the Chains of Prometheus. So this is kind of a fun techie answer that most people don't think about. Most people don't like the symmetrical effect of it probably, but I'm willing to experiment with it to see if it works in this deck. Black Obelisk. This is another artifact I'm running 2 of, and one that I might need to blow up. So it's 3 mana, and the site that you put it on has, at the start of your turn, lose 2 life and gain 2 mana this turn. So it's dangerous. It's going to tax my life total. But, the turn I play this, I have 3 mana, this will ramp me into 5. And if I draw a site and play a site that turn, I can guarantee it can go from 3 mana that turn to 6 the following turn. So I can play some really fun spells by jumping up in mana like that. I think it's worth paying some life to get ahead on mana. And like I said, there are some artifact removal spells in the deck, so I could come up with a way to blow up the Black Obelisk if I need to, hopefully. Pendulum of Peril. This is another neat one. I always liked the the visual of like the pit and the pendulum, Edgar Allan Poe's story. So this is a 6 mana unique monument. So you can only have one copy in your deck when it's unique. You have 2 if it's elite, 3 if it's exceptional, 4 if it's ordinary. This says at the end of each player's turn. So the turn you play this, at the end of your turn, this is going to trigger. Pendulum of Peril kills all minions at its current location and another adjacent location of that player's choice. So when I first play this, it's going to kill everything at 2 sites that are adjacent to each other. The one that this is played to and another site. Now the opponent gets to do the same thing with the pendulum on their turn. Kills everything at the site and one of the other places near it. But the way I think of it, I get the surprise factor of playing this in the first place, and then the opponent has to deal with the fact that this is on the battlefield for the rest of the game. And at that point, we have equal knowledge of it. We both have to play around it. So I think I got the upfront value playing it as a sweeper on those 2 squares. And then the rest of the game, it doesn't benefit my opponent that much. So I think it's a neat card. And it creates a terrain hazard for the rest of the game. Narcotic Manuscript. I admit this deck is probably not the best at using this. It probably works much better in a token deck. I probably don't have enough ways to make minions to really take advantage of this, but I'm not afraid of losing some life. I'm also not afraid of tossing away a 3/3 minion if I think it's what I need to do is draw a spell. And sometimes you'll reveal something with a low mana cost and your minion will survive. So my deck is not like well set up to take advantage of this necessarily, but ways to draw cards in this game are few and far between. So I went ahead and included it anyway. Shrine of the Dragon Lord. So this is a 2 mana artifact. When it first comes down, you teleport all dragons here. That probably won't come up, but you never know. And the site provides an additional 1 mana and 1 of every threshold. That sounds amazing. That sounds like everything I want to be doing for Elementalist. It's a unique site, so I can only have the 1. Philosopher's Stone. So this is a 1 mana artifact. The first spell of each element cast by the bearer each turn, like my Elementalist, costs 1 less. So if I cast a fire spell, it costs 1 less, and then if I can cast a water spell, it's 1 less, etc. So it could net you more than 1 mana per turn if you can cast more than 1 elemental spell of different types. And in the worst case, I guess the worst case is you get colorless spells to go with it, so then it doesn't really give you the benefit. But I think most of the time the worst case is that it gets you 1 mana back, right? You have all fire spells in your hand. At least one of them is cheaper, which is about as good as what the cores do, except it doesn't provide threshold. If there's any deck that can make use of a Philosopher's Stone, though, it's Elementalist. All right, so I have 1 of each of the cores. So they all are artifacts that cost 1 mana. They're unique. They provide 1 threshold of their type and 1 mana. These are obviously extremely powerful. Now, it's hard to draw cards in Sorcery. Or it's easy to make mana. It's hard to draw cards. So you can definitely ramp up in the early turns, but you can run out of gas. So I've tried to put as many card draw effects as I could find into the deck to try to help offset that, and to have big things to ramp up to so that at least when I find a spell, it's an impactful spell, hopefully. They have Ruby Core, Onyx Core, Aquamarine Core, Amethyst Core. All right, I've got an Order of the Pale Worm here. So this is double air threshold. So I need to find at least one more air threshold than what the Elementalist has. It's a 3/3 for 3. And it says nearby sites and units lose ward. So I don't have any ward in this deck. So I'd be just as happy if my opponent didn't either. This seems like a pretty decent card. It's a fun answer that just turns off ward until they get rid of it. And it's a decent size for its mana cost. So even if you don't get use out of the ward text, it's not an embarrassing card to play otherwise. Here, I'll start an air pile. All right, White Knight. So this is 2 thresholds. I believe that's an air and an earth. 5 mana. It has 3 power and 5 toughness. So it takes 5 to kill it. It deals 3 in combat. And it costs 2 less to cast if you have less life than each opponent. So I'm expecting a lot of opponents are going to have some little early game creatures. Some of them might even be very aggressive. The moment they hit me with their first charge minion, they turn on the White Knight. So now the White Knight, I've got the threshold from Elementalist. All I need is 3 mana. And my life total is less than theirs now, so I play this 3/5. And that outsizes their creature. And hopefully they're not trying to kill my creature with damage. If they're a fire deck and they're trying to finish off a 5 toughness creature that only costs 3 mana, that's going to be a tall order. They might have to throw a lot of resources at killing a White Knight at that point. If they can't get rid of it, then it can defend against their creatures, and I can stabilize. So I've got a multicolor pile there. Sir Tom Thumb. This is one of the few ways in the deck that I really have to make use of the Pnakotic manuscript. So Sir Tom Thumb is a 2/1 for 2 mana. You have to have a water threshold and double air threshold. It's unique. It may be carried by any beast. I don't care about that part. But Deathrite, when this guy dies, you return it to hand. So with the Pnakotic manuscript, I can keep using Sir Tom Thumb over and over again, and every time he dies, he comes back and I net a card. I was also thinking that he's just a useful card in general for, however many times the opponent wants to try to kill him, he still just keeps coming back, keeps coming down. It's 2 power again. So, he's an early play that I can get down, has some inevitability. I like that. So I think Sir Tom Thumb's a pretty cool card. Sir Ironside, 2 water threshold, 1 earth. It's a 4/4 for 4, but he has +3 power during enemy turns. So I'm probably going to be trying to stabilize in the early turns of the game with this deck. And if I don't attack with Sir Ironside, then what the opponent is looking at is a 7/7 that can step and block and intercept them. And that's really hard to kill. It's not at all easy to cobble together 7 damage. So, if they have a spell that's, like a drowning effect or something that buries him in the earth, he can definitely be killed. But if you're trying to do it with damage, that's a very tall order. So I was hoping Sir Ironside would be a stabilizing presence for me. And a 4/4 for 4 is just a decent rate for a body as well, if I need to go on the offensive. Sir Gawain. I really like the Poet of Bath epic story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I liked it so much, in fact, that if you ever look up a story about someone named Varaka from the original Baldur's Gate, it's called Varaka's Saga, Veraka. you'll find a story that I didn't finish, but it's got something like 30,000 words of poetic epic verse that I wrote as a piece of fan fiction in epic verse. Yeah, I'm that kind of nerd. Written in the style of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So, Sir Gawain is 3 power, 5 toughness for 4. It's a pretty good rate. Costs double Earth Threshold, a fire, and a water. And Sir Gawain takes damage for other adjacent allies. That could include your avatar. If he dies from damage taken this way, draw a card. So, cool. He's very tough, hard to deal with, and he can make your other stuff hard to deal with. And maybe sometimes he replaces himself with a card after soaking up a bunch of damage, and that's great. So I wanted to test him out and see how he works. And Sir Bors the Younger. This is 1 Earth Threshold and double air. He's got 4 power and 2 toughness. Ranged 2. I forget what that means. Does that mean you can shoot a projectile up to 2 spaces away? I need to get looking at the rules again. I knew what that meant at one point, and I haven't played. But the other thing he says is enemies lose stealth. So he turns off your enemy's stealth minions, and he's this high power ranged unit as well. I thought he's decent value all the way around for what he does. Morgana Le Fay. So she's one of the chase cards out of Arthurian Legends. So she's 3/3 for 3. She requires 3 fire threshold. That's one of the reasons why I put a decent number of fire lands into my Atlas. She's got Spellcaster and Stealth. So the Stealth makes her hard to target and deal with. And Genesis, when she first arrives, she draws her own hand of 3 spells, which only she can cast. So if you can keep Morgana alive, she draws you 3 cards. And that is a big deal in Sorcery. It is really hard to draw cards in Sorcery. And Morgana does it. So she's not impossible to kill, but she's, she has stealth, so she's difficult to get rid of. Just one of the more powerful minions of the game. Invasion. It says an elite aura overwhelms an empire. 6 mana, double fire threshold. At the end of your turn, summon a foot soldier token, that's a 1/1, to each affected enemy site with no units. Lasts 3 of your turns. So if you can line it up, finagle the board just so, you could cast Invasion, immediately summon 4 foot soldiers onto the opponent's lands, and now they're going to have to scramble to get people over there to respond. In the meantime, you want to move your foot soldiers off of those lands, so the invasion will trigger again, because it only summons foot soldier tokens to an enemy site with no units. So you need to try to keep them empty. So in Magical Christmas Land, this would create 12 power and toughness across 12 bodies over 3 turns. More realistically, you might get 3 or 4 bodies the first turn you play this, and then the opponent's going to do everything in their power to try to stop this. So maybe you get like a couple of units on the next turn, and you're also fighting back, trying to keep those squares empty so you can get creatures. I think it's very likely that you end up seeing like 6 to 8 power and toughness in tokens off of this, but that seems really good. It's spread across a whole bunch of bodies. All of them can attack and block individually. It seems like you could take the opponent by surprise. Be playing this kind of long, slow game. You've been using like Chains of Prometheus or something, and then all of a sudden, here's all these tokens from out of nowhere in your big, slow control deck. I don't know how well it will work, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Lava Flow. So there's a bunch of burn spells here. Removal. It's double fire threshold, 5 mana. Lava flows from the caster's site in a cardinal direction. Deal damage to each other unit occupying a site in the area of effect. So where the caster is, other things there take 5 damage. Then the next one in front of the caster, they all take 4. Then the one after that, they take 2. Seems really good. Seems like definitely a way to defend your avatar if they're getting attacked directly. Just not a bad spell overall for clearing out some squares on the battlefield. Heat Ray. This is 3 mana, just 1 fire threshold. Shoot a piercing projectile. I think that means it hits something in its square, but it keeps going. Deal 2 damage to 1 unit at each location along its path. So you can shoot multiple things going in a row, basically, but you only hit one thing at each site. If you're fighting Necromancer or something, where there's just like a line of skeletons marching in towards you, I could see this being pretty good. It's also a spell that can finish off the opponent's avatar once they're at death's door. Infernal Legion. This is a 6/6 for 6, 3 fire threshold. At the end of your turn, deal 3 damage to each other adjacent unit. So this can burn down all kinds of smaller units. It's like summoning a huge creature that's also kind of a little board wipe. Just seems really useful. Poison Nova. This is 5 mana. The spell has lethal, so when it says it deals 1 damage to each other nearby minion, that 1 damage kills them because it's lethal. And nearby means it hits the diagonals as well. So this is a really strong one, especially if you're if the opponent's getting ahead, you're getting swarmed with their minions. Poison Nova could really turn the tide back in your favor. Cone of Flame. So this is 6 mana, double red threshold. Choose a direction from the caster. Deal damage to each unit at a location in the area of effect. So the caster's the dot there. Space in front of them, those things take 5. The row of 3 in front of that, all those take 3. The row in front of that, all of those take 1. Seems like a really cool spell that could totally wipe out a token army. Also, certainly a way to deal lethal damage to the opponent's avatar when they're at death's door. Minor Explosion, 3 mana, double fire threshold. Deal 3 damage to each unit at target location up to 2 steps away. So this doesn't kill a warded minion, but it targets a site rather than a minion. So if there's any other minions standing at that site, it would blow up any of the wards on any of the minions that are standing there, and anything that's not warded it might kill. So it's just a useful spell. Fireball, 4 mana, double fire threshold. Shoot a projectile. Deals 4 damage on impact and 2 damage to each other unit at that location. So again, this is a way to kill the opponent's avatar. It's a decent removal spell. Just different ways of doing a similar task. I like to have a variety of different answers in case one of them is not working well in that situation. Here we go, Pact with the Devil. This is 4 mana, double fire threshold. It's unique. Sacrifice the caster or lose half your life rounding up. If you do, draw 3 cards. This is one of the rare ways in Sorcery to draw cards. You just have to sacrifice a spellcaster minion or lose half your life to do it. That's painful. But I come from Magic, where, some of us crazy people in Magic have played, decks like Suicide Black. You're not supposed to call it that anymore. I guess, because the word is flagged as being dangerous by YouTube. Um, but you play a bunch of things that have drawbacks that cost you life and make you discard cards and are just really dangerous to you. People are still playing versions of that in Legacy and old formats with Death Shadow. So people are not afraid necessarily of losing half their life in Magic. In this game, you can't go above your starting life total, so that's like an extra layer of danger. And once you get to Death's Door, you can't come back up again except from that one card we saw earlier, Divine Intervention. So there's extra layers of danger doing it with sorcery, but I don't care. I'm willing to take the risk. I'll make the pact with the devil, and if it ends up not working out, I'll retool the deck. Meteor Shower, 9 mana. 9's a lot. 3 fire threshold. Target 3 sites that share no borders. Deal damage to each unit atop sites in each area of effect. So it creates 3 different explosions on the field. You can't stack them directly on top of each other, but I think they can overlap as long as the center doesn't end up being next to one of the other center points. I thought this was a really cool spell, and I'm going big in this deck. So I figure most decks probably can't use this, but I'm generating a ton of mana, and I'm stalling the game to try to go long. So I think I might be able to cast Meteor Shower in this deck. We'll find out. Flame Wave. This is 6 mana, double red threshold. So it flows horizontally from one edge of the realm to the other. And you can see it deals 7s down one column, then 5s down the next, then 3s, then 1s. That hits a huge area of the battlefield. So I'm pretty sure if you cast this, most of the time it really is a board sweeper. Even though the board's pretty big. I like it. Alright, Major Explosion. This is 7 mana, double fire threshold. You target a location up to 2 steps away. And it deals 7 in the middle, 5 adjacent, and 3 on the diagonals. Those are nearby. Just a solid card. Kills most of the big things in the format. There's a few things that have more than 7 toughness, but not many. Also, definitely a way to try to kill the enemy avatar as long as you can get within 2 steps of them. Fire Bolts. So 2 mana, 1 fire threshold. Shoots 3 projectiles in the same direction, one at a time. Each one deals 1 damage. This could be good for popping wards. Or killing little things and tokens and stuff. Vile Imp. This is a 2/2 for 2. And when it enters with Genesis, you may deal 2 damage to target adjacent unit. This is part of the reason why people don't play little minions. It's because of the existence of Vile Imp. Vile Imp is so incredibly efficient, taking out another 2 toughness thing and leaving behind a body, that it kind of negates the aggro strategy, along with some of the lands that exist in the format. That's just kind of the way it is. You have to play more of a mid-game kind of thing in Sorcery, and I'm going to try to play a late game with this deck. Kettletop Leprechaun. So this is a 2/2 for 2 Earth Threshold. When it dies with Deathrite, you draw a site. So you take like a land, a site from your Atlas. At least it replaces itself with a card. I want value from my minions, and so this is something that can block for me. It could attack if I have to. When it inevitably dies, I get to get another land. And that's a land I didn't have to tap my avatar to draw, so I can tap to deploy it instead. Useful stuff. I don't think I had an Earth stack yet, so I'll start our Earth stack. Here's Tithe. Tithe is 1 mana, 3 Earth Threshold, draw 3 sites. So this is one of the rare ways to draw cards. They have to be land, but you need land. You need to build the battlefield. You need to get mana. And lands often have valuable game impacting effects, like summoning these creatures out of my my sideboard, my collection. So Tithe is totally a worthwhile play. In fact, 1 mana to draw 3 cards is ridiculous. I just think people don't play Earth as much, and some people might have trouble getting to 3 Earth threshold. With Elementalist, you have 1 Earth threshold to start with. If I got a regular Earth site and the Earth core, or if I got a site that had double Earth threshold plus the Elementalist, that would be enough to play Tithe on turn 1. It's not impossible. The deck can do it. So I think it's a pretty good call in Elementalist, and in any deck that's heavy into Earth, this is an amazing amount of value. Starseeds of This is a really weird spell. It's 1 mana, 1 Earth threshold. Fill up to 13 voids with rubble. So when you first start the game, you haven't deployed your lands yet. Everything is a void. And most things can't exist in the void. Creatures with void walk are able to go through it. You can't walk across it normally. You can't cast spells across it, I believe. Rubble is normally what's left behind when a site is destroyed. You can walk across rubble, you can burrow underneath rubble, you can flood rubble and turn it into water, but no one controls it, no one gets mana from it. But why would I include this card in my deck? I think there's a couple of corner case scenarios where a couple of niche deck strategies get totally hosed by including this card in the deck. I don't know if I'll fight them, but if my opponent is a Void Walk deck, when I cast this spell, most of the battlefield is not going to be void anymore. And that's going to suck for them. If they're relying on trying to use Ether Core to generate them 3 mana, I could cast Starseeds of and fill in the map with a whole bunch of rubble. Another thing that it does is I think there's a land where it says if there's a row that's not filled in, you can play the land into the row. Like you can move the other lands aside and put it into the row. It's a way you can get one of your lands onto the enemy's row of lands. But it requires a row to not be filled in yet. And I think, I'm not sure about the rules on this, but I think with rubble that the row would count as being filled in and you wouldn't be able to play the land back there. I'm not sure if that's true though. There's just some corner cases where it feels like getting rid of the void and filling everything up with land might trip up the opponent. I could see a water opponent not appreciating the fact that I had filled in a whole bunch of land that is not water on the battlefield as well. So it's a very niche card. It has a very marginal effect on the game, but I think it's really interesting, and I think it could come up. I think there are situations. All right, Dispel. So this is a Earth spell, 2 mana. Destroy all auras and artifacts at a target location up to 2 steps away. If I end up needing to blow up my own Chains of Prometheus or my own Black Obelisks, this is one of the ways to do it. And it's one of the reasons why I might stack the Black Obelisks on the same site. Is so that one Dispel can take care of both of them, so I stop killing myself when I don't need the excess mana anymore. I don't know if that's a good plan to have in the deck, but it's a plan. Common Sense. This is an Earth spell. I've just got the 1 copy in the deck. It's 2 mana. You search your spellbook for an ordinary card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So, uh, weird niche spells, little removal spells, little creatures like the leprechaun or the imp, or what's the one? It's like it's just a rock or whatever it's called. All those little things. This can go into the deck and it can tutor up a copy. I didn't want to make the deck all about this, so I just have the one common sense. But it seems useful as a one of to fetch a whole bunch of the other one of ordinaries that I have in the deck. It kind of doubles them up as a toolbox. Berry. This is another ordinary thing I could fetch. 3 mana, 1 earth threshold. Burrow target minion or artifact if able. So this puts it underneath a land site. And most creatures, if they don't have burrowing, they just die when they go down there. Artifacts don't. But you might put an artifact out of reach of your opponent. That might be interesting. Vivian the Enchantress. She is a 1 power for 5 mana, 3 earth threshold. Vivian has the printed abilities of all avatars and spellcasters in the realm wherever she is. So Vivian could come down and copy my avatar abilities, which would give me double of every type of threshold when I cast her. She would have the ability to tap, play, or draw a site. That's cool too. If the opponent's playing Sorcerer, maybe she can tap to draw spells as well. That would be neat, or whatever the enemy avatar is doing. And then my other spellcasters. I don't have a lot of them, but if I have like Morgana Le Fay, then Vivian could come down and draw her own hand of 3 spells. And I guess she would also have stealth at that point, be a spellcaster. So Vivian is a really interesting card that even if all you're copying is just the avatar abilities, I still think she's worth it. And then if you can get a trigger like Morgana Le Fay or something, then she's absurd. At that point, you've really outdone yourself figuring out ways to draw cards. She's neat, maybe a little overcosted, but I like her. Cave In, 4 mana, 1 earth threshold. Burrow all minions and artifacts occupying target land site. This is a way you can kill warded minions because you target the site, not the minions. And they go into the earth, and even though the ward breaks trying to save them, it just goes right back to killing them again because they don't have burrowing, don't have the submerge ability. So Cave In seems like a useful kill spell to have floating around the deck. Conqueror Worm. This is fun. So it's an 8/8 for 8, double earth threshold. At the end of your turn, if no enemy units occupy this site, permanently gain control of it. So at that point, the enemy site is my site. Now it's making me threshold in mana. It's part of my realm. And they could try to block, but they're trying to block an 8/8. So that might not work out for them. I think it's interesting. Is it good? No, maybe not, but I think it's neat to have a few angles of attack on the opponent's lands as well. And this is a way to do it. And the deck makes a lot of mana, goes big, so I might as well have something big in here to go up to. Cast into Exile. This is double air threshold, 2 mana. Shuffle target minion occupying an allied site into its owner's spellbook. It's a good price for what it does. Sending it back to the spellbook is, in some cases, better than sending it to the graveyard, if they could get it back. And this is one of the ways you can get rid of the Doom of Dilmun. It's not that you can't target it. You can target the Doom of Dilmun. And it doesn't say that it can't change game zones. So you can send it back to the opponent's library. So I've actually got a couple of ways to deal with the Doom of Dilmun in this deck, between the Chains of Prometheus and the Cast into Exile. Magic Missiles. So this is similar to the fire spell that shoots 3 projectiles in the same direction one at a time. They each deal 1. Good for breaking wards, good for killing little token minions and stuff. Can finish off the opponent. Thundering Giant. It's a 4/4 for 6 mana, double air threshold. It has charge. That means it can like step and attack, the turn that you've played it. It doesn't have to wait. And it also says once on your turn, Thundering Giant may teleport to another nearby location. Nearby includes the diagonals. Tap all other units there on arrival. So Thundering Giant can actually go 2 steps, but 2 steps kind of like it's airborne, because it can take that first step diagonally. And when it takes that teleport, it taps down everything else that's there, which means it can't block. Can't intercept the Thundering Giant at that point. So Thundering Giant seems like a way it could definitely kill the opponent's avatar, potentially by being able to move so far across the board. Can also tap down a bunch of other things that could block for a minion, so that the Thundering Giant can run up to a minion, tap down some of the other things that were close, and kill the one that it wants to kill. It seems like a really strong spell to me. I guess it could be a little bit bigger for its mana cost, but for how mobile it is and for having charge, I think it's great. Disenchant. This is 2 mana, 1 air threshold. This is similar to the Earth spell. Destroy all auras and artifacts at target location up to 2 steps away. Again, this gives me answers to my own artifacts, and it can blow up the opponent's auras and artifacts as well. Which, that can be a big deal if they've got something dangerous like the Ring of Morrigan, or if they've put like Acid Rain on some of my lands or something, then I can disenchant. The Lightning Bolt, this is a classic. 2 mana, 1 air threshold, deal 3 damage to a random unit at target location. If it's the only unit at that location, that's the one that's getting hit. It can kill a lot of important things. It can finish off the opponent's avatar. It's at a good price for the amount of damage it does. It's just a solid card. Arcane Barrage. X and 3 air threshold. Shoot X projectiles in the same direction one at a time. Each deals 1 damage. This deck makes a lot of mana. I could see casting a pretty big Arcane Barrage. Like, even one big enough to kill, like, a stupid 6/6 or 7/7 giant or whatever. Or just mow down a bunch of little minions and still, like, pepper the opponent's avatar with the leftover shots. Seems like a useful card to me. At least in a deck that can make a lot of mana. Dapperel Vampire. This is a pretty commonly played card. This is a 4/4 for 5 mana, 1 air threshold. It has Airborne, so it can move diagonally. And it's hard to attack unless you're a unit that has Airborne or ranged, I think. And damage dealt by Dapperel Vampire's strikes heal you. So I think this is one of the only things I have in the deck that can gain me life. I'm not that concerned about it. I can come back from Death's Door with, Divine Intervention if I have to. But this is just a useful creature all the way around, so I went ahead and included a copy. Lord of the Void. I don't think most people play this. For one thing, it's 9 mana. For another thing, it has 0 power, toughness. So, it dies to a stiff breeze. However, it has Void Walk, so if it's standing in the void, you can't really get to it in order to get rid of it. And at the end of your turn, Lord of the Void may banish an adjacent site, unless there's an avatar there. So the turn I play the Lord of the Void, at the end of that turn, it can banish one of the opponent's sites, or even one of mine if it's tactically useful. So that site just goes away, turns back into void, and creatures that can't survive in the void that were standing there or burrowed there or submerged there die. Lord of the Void can kind of keep itself safe if it can be in a void itself. So it could like destroy the site that it's standing on to put itself in the void, and that might keep it safe from being attacked. Basically, this will chew up the opponent's sites for the rest of the game, and it'll kill their creatures that are at those sites. It's very powerful. It's probably overcosted for what it does. Most people probably prefer a minion that has power, that doesn't die to anything pointed at it, but I think the Lord of the Void is a really neat, tricky way to deal with the opponent's sites, to mess up their combat math and maybe kill some things they didn't count on getting killed because they don't have Void Walk. And Ice Lance. This is 3 mana, water threshold. Shoot a piercing projectile, deal 3, then 2, then 1 damage to up to 1 unit at each of the first 3 locations along its path. So this can deal a maximum of 6, spread across 3 different things. It's another way you can kill the opponent's avatar. It's just a useful spell overall. I think there are definitely situations where you can kill 2 things with this. So, that's the deck. It's my first take on Elementalist. It's the first time I have finished building a deck. So what do you all think? Am I crazy? Do I have enough early game removal? Do I have enough sweepers? Do I lack enough threats to finish the game off? Do you think it looks like fun to play? Let me know. Comment. Or you could give me a like. You could subscribe to the channel. That would help. Checking out the other videos would be the most helpful thing, though. That's the thing that YouTube really loves. And you might like some of the other videos, I hope. Until next time, never stop honing your critical thinking and empathy.